Hello friends, welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Professor S.P. Singh from Faculty of Management Studies, Gurukul Kangadi University, Haridwar. Today we are going to study Module 27 on separation. Friends, after studying this module, you shall be able to know the concept of separation, understand the types of separation, comprehend the reasons for separation, become aware of the process of separation, know the components of separation. Separation of employees is another significant career transition. Employees may leave the organization involuntarily through layoff or discharge, or voluntarily through resignation or retirement. Although the reasons for separation vary, each instance should be analyzed and understood in terms of its impact on the individual employee and on the organization as a whole. Sudden or unexpected removal from the organization can be particularly difficult for the affected employee and can damage the morale of co-workers and the organization's general climate. Even when the employee initiates the separation, the organization must be able to continue functioning until the vacancy is filled. Thus, the effective management of employee separation is vital to the healthy and continued functioning of the organization. There are different types of employee separation. A layoff is the temporary or indefinite removal of employees from the payroll. Generally, the purpose of layoff is to reduce the organization's burden of excess labor cost when human resources cannot be used effectively. Layoffs may affect relatively small groups of employees, but when a large organization runs into serious financial problems, large number of workers may be laid off. In some instances, management is too quick to lay off employees because of financial downturns, thus depleting the organization's valuable human resources for the long term and damaging the morale and security of retained employees. Furthermore, contrary to the views of many investors, layoffs frequently do not lead to improved profits and stock prices over a subsequent 3-year period. In some instances, however, layoffs may be the only option remaining for an organization facing profitable bankruptcy. Discharge or dismissal, termination or firing is a management action in which an employee is separated from the organization for violation of company rules or inadequate performance. Because discharge is a traumatic experience for the affected employee and usually for others as well, most managers are extremely reluctant to dismiss an employee unless there are substantial and well-documented reasons for such action. In many cases, timely warning and effective supervisory involvement in correcting problems can eliminate the need for employee termination. Dismissal is termination of service of an employee as a measure of inflicting punishment. This may happen either on account of inadequate performance or acts of misconduct, persistent inability on the part of employee to perform up to the expectation or a specific standard is considered as performance short of standards. If the employee willingly violates rules and regulations, it is treated as misconduct. Dismissal is a drastic step, seriously impacting the earnings and image of the employee. Resignation or termination of service by an employee by serving a notice is called resignation on the employer. Resignation may be voluntary or involuntary. A voluntary resignation is when an employee himself decides to resign on the grounds of ill health, marriage, better job prospects in other organizations. When the employer asks the employee to resign on grounds of negligence, duty and indiscipline or face the disciplinary action, resignation is known as involuntary or compulsory. However, in case of involuntary resignation, a domestic inquiry is required to be conducted prior to asking the employee to submit resignation. While some resignations may be advisable and beneficial for the organization to rectify the mistakes committed in hiring the employees, excessive turnover may be alarming as well. In such cases, it is appropriate for the organization to trace out the reasons behind resignations by conducting exit interviews with the employees who are leaving the organization. Most organizations use exit interviews to obtain information about the reasons of turnover. Retirement is the major cause of separation of employees from the organization. It can be defined as the termination of service of an employee on reaching the age of superannuation. When employees are bound to retire compulsorily from service on attaining the age of superannuation, it is called compulsory retirement. Certain organizations like university may have a policy of reappointment professionals and others who possess rare skills and expertise for a limited time even after attaining superannuation. When organizations offer options to its employees to retire even before the exact time of superannuation, it is called voluntary retirement. Employees, in return of voluntary retirement, receive a certain lump sum payment. This kind of retirement is also known as golden handshake. Retirement from service is a significant landmark in the life of an employee. Retired employees require a great deal of adjustment during their retired life. Here, organization has a major role in facilitating a smooth transition from job state to jobless state. Against this background, some organizations like Citibank and Bank of America organize counseling sessions and also offer investment related services. Retrenchment means permanent termination of an employee's services for economic reasons. The existence of surplus staff, poor demand for products, general economic slowdown are the major reasons for employee retrenchment. However, the retirement, wind up of a business, illness or and disciplinary action are not included in retrenchment. The Industrial Disputes Act makes it mandatory for organizations employing 100 or more employees give a notice of 3 months to the employee to be retrenched and also get prior approval of the government. In other organizations, employee must be served 1 month's notice in writing indicating the reasons for retrenchment and is paid compensation 15 days wages for every completed year of service. As and when there is need for employing people in lieu, the retrenched employee get preference. Employees who are retrenched, laid off, may have difficulty in finding an alternative job if the market conditions are not favorable. There might be a need for a specific category of employees having multiple skills, but the retrenched employee may possess those skills. To fill this gap, some organizations provide training in marketable skills and assist the retrenched employees in searching a suitable job in other organizations. Outplacement assistance includes efforts made by employer to help a recently separated worker to find a job. Apart from training, some firms doing business in multiple countries offer assistance to separated employees in the form of paid leave, travel charges for attending interviews, search firm changes, weighing bond requirements to the retrenched employees. The time may come during the career of a business owner where he faces the unwilling task of terminating an employee. Unacceptable performance or behavior exhibited by the employee or as a result of a change in business conditions may include the reasons for employee separation. Irrespective of the reason for the employee termination, careful documentation on the part of the employer will protect him against probable charges of discrimination or illegal termination resulting in a lawsuit. Employee separation is the process to ensure that an employee quitting the company is exited in a well-defined and orderly way. Several firms take the process of employee separation very seriously and have a dedicated department to deal with employee exits from the company. Employee separation can be voluntary as well as involuntary. When the employee quits the company on his or her own accord, it is voluntary separation. This is the most common form of employee separation. In recessionary times, involuntary separation of the employers, the act of asking the employee to leave is quite common. This form of employee separation is called involuntary separation. The difference in these two forms of separation is that in case of voluntary exits, the employee is entitled to get most of the benefits and perks, whereas in case of involuntary separation or instances where disciplinary or performance related issues are involved, the employee might not get such benefits. The employee separation process begins with the time the employee gives notice to the employer of his or her intention to quit. Freezing financial transactions. Once a notice is given by an employee, the HR department freezes all the financial transactions and records of the employees. The employee supervisor is given the responsibility to ensure proper handover and closure of works assigned to the employee. Often, the notice period varies from a month to 3 months, depending upon the level of employee in the organization. Handover plan. Further, the employee's supervisor draw out a handover plan covering all aspects of closing out on the work the employee is performing. Friends, in this module, you have studied the concept, the types, the components, the process and reasons for separation. Thanks for visiting EPG Pathshala.